thanks for joining me for the next chapter of Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer. So welcome to you, and I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining me if this is the first time that you've ever watched. So well done for tuning in. We are now on chapter 19. I can't believe it. Come so far. So just in case you don't know, it's the first time you join me. My name is Beth Shepherd, and I'm the author of the Ernie Gonzalez series. So Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer, which we're reading through now in each session, and Escape from Paradise. Can't wait to share a bit more with you about this book. But for now, we are on chapter 19, as I mentioned. So this chapter is called A Crazy Idea. Wow, I love crazy ideas. Crazy ideas are usually great ideas. So just a quick recap, in case you have forgotten, or in case the first time that you're joining me. So, I'm not sure I've got anyone to say hi to today. Who do I know is watching? I think Ben and Amy are watching. I think Jinhan, Hesely, who else? Amir may be watching, and Amaya, and a few others that I haven't mentioned. So if I haven't mentioned your name, so hi guys. And if you haven't let me know that you're watching, please do let me know so I can give you a hi and say hi to you, a little mention. Don't forget to also send your work in. So next week, next session, I'm really excited because I have some work to share. So please send your work in and maybe I will share yours because I have a really exciting activity for you today that I love. It's so much fun. Anyway, just to recap. So last chapter, just a reminder, what was that called? Time to Play. Last chapter saw poor Ernie and Bruce being used as toys for very playful kittens, and they were thrown all across the road, whacked across. And I imagine snails would make quite good balls because they would just roll. And if you have a kitten or a cat, you know they like to play with things that roll along the ground, okay, like balls of wool or tiny little balls. So that's what they were doing in last chapter. So quite disastrous for two snails. However, they did manage to escape, and the chapter ended with them falling into a pothole and poking their heads out and discovering that the things that were playing with them were two kittens. However, the two kittens looked hungry, and the mum looked tired, and there didn't seem to be any food for them. So how did they get there? So remember, they took a rubbish truck up to the village, okay, escaping the wild dogs, using the wild dogs to their advantage to help them get up to the rubbish truck, nearly squashed by a tire on the rubbish truck, but thankfully they made it, thanks to Ernie's pack of useless items, which he thought were useless, but turned out to be brilliant. If you remember, it was a cotton bud. So Bruce wedged the cotton bud under Ernie and flipped him out, and he went flying up and luckily landed on the wheel arch. And the two snails sat back and watched Captain Pablo nearly being eaten by the dogs as the truck made it up to the top of the village. Before that, remember, they had found their paradise garden. Bruce loved it and didn't want to leave for anything, but Ernie had to go because he knew that there were snails that may be captured and kept as pets and plumped up like he was, and then only to find out that they're going to be cooked in a paella. Okay, so he had to go back and rescue them, which is now what he is doing. Okay, he's made it to the top of the village, and now he's got to think of a plan to rescue all the rest of the snails of Vinuela. What a big task for such a small snail. But we know that he is a brave and determined snail, so I'm sure he's going to do it. So let's find out what happens next. So the chapter suggests that there is a big idea. One of the snails has had a great idea, okay, because they are very stuck in a pothole, okay? If they pop out, of the pothole, they're going to be used as toys. How are they going to get out of this sticky, squelchy snail situation? Let's have a look. Safely hidden in the pothole in the road, the snails looked at each other and smiled. This was the second near miss they had had in one morning, and they were both feeling a little drained but amazed by what they had overcome. So remember, I said that they nearly got squashed by the tires of the truck. So that's the first thing that they overcome, and now they overcome being toys for kittens. Well done, snails. With a cheeky grin on his face, Bruce said, "Ern, I'm so glad you're alive. I thought I'd lost you." He paused, trying to hide the emotion in his voice. and thought about how grateful it was to have such a good friend. Anyway, it's a good job I found this milk carton, he said, changing the subject. It makes for a mighty megaphone. Ernie looked at the carton and remembered the first time that he had met Bruce on the compost heap. And a fantastic idea came to him. So if you remember, back near the beginning, I think it's fourth chapter, fifth chapter maybe, Bruce makes it out of, Ernie makes it out of the window where he's been kept as a pet and lands on a compost heap. And then he hears a voice saying, "Get off, you're trespassing." And it turns out to be Bruce. And he was using a milk carton to amplify and make his voice sound louder and bigger and scarier. I wonder if that's the idea that he's got. Where is it? Let's read. Ernie looked at the carton and remembered the first time he'd met Bruce at the compost heap, and a fantastic idea came to him. It was so good that it sent his tentacles into a spin. As they whizzed around on his head, he turned to his friend. "Bruce, you came here for an adventure, right?" "That's right," Bruce replied, unsure where this was leading. "And I know that you're feeling fearless. Am I right?" continued Ernie. "Well, I guess," Bruce mumbled hesitantly. "Good, I thought so." Now it was Ernie who felt like the brave one. Bruce wondered if all that play with the kittens had made his head turn a little strange. "'Cause I have a plan that will need both of us to be braver than ever, and slightly bananas, as you put it," he said, smiling at Bruce. "Are you up for it, my friend?" he added enthusiastically. Bruce wondered what he had to lose. After all, they had already come so far. They had survived rapids, surfed on the back of a turtle, ridden on the legs of a wild dog, almost been crushed under the wheel of a rubbish truck, and narrowly escaped becoming kitten food. Okay, what is it? Ernie took a deep breath and began to explain. "You see those cats? The mum and the two kittens?" "Yeah," said Bruce, wondering how he could not have seen them, as they had spent the last 10 minutes trying to escape from them. "Well, it's obvious that they haven't eaten for ages," continued Ernie, his tentacles now disco dancing on his head from side to side, almost popping out of his head with excitement. "If we can convince them not to eat us, but instead to carry us through the village while we sit on their backs, then using your milk carton megaphone, we can call all the snails of Vinuela and tell them to follow us to the olive garden. In exchange, we can lead the cats to the compost heap where they will never go hungry again." Ernie took a deep breath as he finished his long speech and stood there beaming with a big smile, waiting for Bruce to respond. Let's look at Ernie's beaming smile. Don't want you to see the next picture yet. There you go. Ernie is so proud of his awesome idea. There was a few seconds silence. Then Bruce's eyes lit up. "Awesome! That's a bonza plan, mate. It's completely bonkers. But I love it. Let's go for it." Ernie was just about to climb out of the pothole when Bruce hesitated. "Only one problem," he said. "I know I'm big, being Aussie and all, but how do you suggest we get this great hulking milk carton out of this pothole? It's got to be at least 10 times our size." The snail stopped. Ernie hadn't thought of that. Suddenly, his amazing, best ever plan didn't seem quite so good. "I guess we can't. It's impossible. And without the carton, we can't call all the snails. And this will have all been for nothing," he said. And he slumped back inside his shell, his tentacles drooping down to the floor. So he went from being super excited, tentacles right up in the air, to just gloomy and hanging down because he cannot see how a small challenge can be overcome. But I bet you they can think of something. They are great ones for thinking of ideas. Bruce looked at Ernie in disbelief. "I don't understand how you can give up so easily. There is always another way." Well done, Bruce. That's true. There is always another way. So they sat and pondered. While they were in deep thought, a car whizzed over their heads. It took them both by surprise, and the force of it swept them high up into the air. A few seconds later, they plummeted down, landing side by side at the edge of the road. Far out, Ern! What in the world just happened? Ernie was about to reply when something fell from the sky and crashed down on top of them, almost squashing them by the side of the road. Nervously, they peeked out from beneath their shells and looked at the heavy object that was balancing on top of them. To their joy, they discovered that it was the milk carton. Perplexed and totally amazed, they looked at each other and shouted, "Perfect! Let's go!" Carefully lifting themselves up, they began marching forward with the milk carton balancing on their backs towards the rubbish bin where the cats were purring as they slept. So my favourite picture in the whole book is this one. Let's have a look. Two snails squashed under the heavy milk carton. I love the way that they've been illustrated. They look like they have been flattened, like two squidgy marshmallows. But they do manage to pick it up and carry it off. So I love this picture. I think that's the end of the chapter. Yeah, that's the end of the chapter. So another short chapter. So the two snails have somehow miraculously found a way out of the hole, and with the milk carton on their heads, they are super lucky. So they are carrying it now over to the cats. So I can't wait for the next chapter. The next chapter is called The Plan Takes Shape. Okay, and now we know what their plan is. We're going to see, we'll be able to guess a little bit what's going to happen in the next chapter. Okay, they're probably going to introduce themselves to the cats, but we don't know how they're going to respond, whether they're going to say yes or not. Okay, I wonder if you have a guess or have an idea. Lots of different directions. The story could go in so many directions. Okay, but remember the picture on the front of the book is a bit of a clue. Right, let's get on. What's my awesome tip? My awesome tip is one of my favorite tips. Can't believe I haven't said this tip already, and we're on chapter 19, but so important for you guys for story writing. Okay, you might not like this tip, but if you do it, I guarantee you will love it. This tip is read, read, read. Okay, if you want to be better at story writing or any kinds of writing, and also if you want to come up with great ideas, the key to becoming better at writing is to read, 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 read. Okay, summer holidays coming up, or maybe you're still in lockdown, I don't know, but grab some books and read as many as you can. And it's kind of like a little machine. Chuck the books in, the books go in, the awesome story writing comes out better. Okay, so the more books you put in, the better it will come out, because you'll begin to hear how the sentences are written, how the rhythm of the story goes, how different things are connected together in the story. So, for example, if you mention something at the beginning of the story, you want to kind of link it in further in your story, how the characters are displayed through dialogue, how character emotion is used, how sentences are structured well. You won't even need to really think about it. You'll begin to just pick up the feeling of how to write. And books are awesome. Books are awesome to read. Okay, so read it on a Kindle, read paper books. Okay, and I bet you will improve your story writing. Also, I mentioned as well, like reading lots helps come up with ideas. Okay, so if you read a book, it might give you an idea for another story. Kind of, you'll get something from that story. Okay, maybe there's something in it that sparks your imagination, and you want to write a story about that. Maybe you want to write a story about one of those characters in the book and something else that's happened to them in the story, part 2 of it. Okay, so that's a great way of getting inspiration, is from other people's work. I know painters and artists and creative people do that all the time. We love enjoying people's work, okay, people's paintings, people's artwork, and then that gives us an idea for another artwork. So it's the same with story writing, okay? We're inspired by other people's inspiration. Other people's creative projects inspire us in our own ideas. Okay, so now for my favorite activity. Okay, so do you remember quite a while back I set you an activity of writing a news article. Now, I love news articles. They're great fun to write and they're great fun to read. But this one is my favorite. The first one was about the snails discovered behind the fridge. So it's breaking news. Snails discovered behind the fridge. Okay, so what does that suggest? That snails are being eaten. And I know I read out, I think it was Amaya's awesome. Yes, it was Amaya's awesome news report, okay, about shocking news, like snails are being eaten by humans. Okay, so that was a great one. This one, that was a bit more serious. This one, I want you to focus on making it humorous, okay, so funny. So it's all about shocking news. Snails found squashed under giant milk carton. Okay, so you could use what's happened in this story, or you could take it out of this story and just use it in a different context. So it could just be something different completely, or it could be linked to the story. One idea could be some really naughty kids have kicked the milk carton purposely onto two snails to squash them. Do you have are there snail paramedics coming? Are there snail fire engines coming to lift them up? Is it snail reporters reporting the story, or is it all humans rescuing the snails? Okay, maybe someone throws the milk carton out the window and it lands on top of them. But I bet you can think of something completely unique. But it could, if you want to use the story, that's fine. Okay, Bruce and Ernie squashed under milk carton after car whizzes past and flips in the air and it lands on top of them. How are they going to escape? 999 is called to rescue them. Okay, so please send me your news reports. I'm going to share one next week and I can't wait for that. So don't forget, keep up your story writing, keep practicing, and remember, my tip today is one of the best tips I can give you is read other people's stories. Okay, so take care and I will see you on Thursday for chapter 20. Are we on chapter? Yes, we're on chapter 19, so chapter 20. And we're almost at the end of the book. Not far now to go. So I hope you've been practicing your writing. Any kinds of writing is brilliant. So just keep practicing. Take care. Bye.